What's going on, people? No intro today. Um, got a couple things I want to talk about. And before I even get started with this video, before I get into talking about my points and everything, whatever preconceived notions you have of me, drop them at the door. Whatever bias you have, anger, emotion, whatever, you think I'm a huge prick, you think I'm a whiny bitch, you think I'm a faggot, whatever. Leave it at the door. Because some real shit is going to be said in this video that really needs to be heard. Now, I did a video a long time ago. I think it was maybe 2013 when I did it. Not like early 2014 probably. But I believe it was entitled Nintendo Fans, Not Every Third-Party Developer is at Fault. And I was pretty much saying that, like, yeah, a lot of these third-party developers are bullshitting. But you guys need to stop throwing the innocent ones under the bus, alongside the actual guilty ones. You see what I mean? Because Nintendo fans have this, habit of whenever a third-party developer does one thing, big or small, that they don't like, it's boom, automatic conspiracy. They hate Nintendo. They don't care about Nintendo fans. They hate the Wii U, yada yada, all that stuff. They're just like EA. They're just like Ubi shit. All that stuff ensues, right? Every single time something happens with a third-party developer, Nintendo fans just have these knee-jerk reactions, right? And it extends beyond Nintendo fans. That's a major problem plaguing these gaming communities nowadays. Is gamers are way too goddamn emotional. They're way too emotionally invested in all this stuff, in these companies that don't truly care about them, in these fake ass console wars that don't even really exist, at least not anymore. There is no console war this gen. There is a clear cut winner. But anyway, that's beside the point. But nobody actually wants to be logical about anything. And it's always the logical people that end up being persecuted simply because they're not in an angry mob alongside everybody else. They're not the ones going off of pure rage-fueled emotions. You see what I'm saying? Nobody wants to actually sit back, take in all the factors, analyze, do some critical thinking. Nobody ever wants to do that. Nobody wants to use logic. Nobody ever wants to think. Nobody ever wants to weigh things, anything like that. Look at things from different angles. No. It's, I don't like that, so it's this way, and there's shit anyone could tell me to change my mind otherwise. That's how a lot of gamers are these days, but specifically, of course, just want to talk about the Nintendo fan base. But yeah, in that video, it's pretty much talking about how every third-party developer is not at fault. And I'm going to be reiterating some of those points in this video, as well as two other points near the end that I want to make. But if you guys don't know about the current situation, Slightly Mad Studios has pretty much came out and said that they're most likely, because it's not an official cancellation, but they're most likely not going to be releasing, I can't speak right now, Project Cars on the Wii U. And the reason being is because the performance that they are targeting it's not there. It's not there. They wanted to do 720p, 30 frames per second, but right now the game is currently only running at roughly 24 frames at 720p p per second, and that's probably not even 24 locked. So they're pretty shy of their goal. And we all know, the situation regarding this. A lot of Nintendo fans actually gave money to Slightly Mad Studios for the sake of them bringing this game to the Wii U. Now, based off of that alone, I could definitely understand why some people are angry. And I'm not going to sit here and necessarily defend that, because if you gave money to somebody and they promised you that they're going to do something with that money, then yes, you are justified to get angry. So I'm not here to tell you guys that you guys shouldn't be getting angry at, Slightly Mad Studios and things of that nature. But I will come here and tell you guys to at least try to look at it from their perspective, from their point of view. Because once again, like I had mentioned, a lot of people are already throwing them in that boat with, Ubisoft and, EA, all those other companies, stuff like that, who have, done some bullshit. And, like I said, in that past video I did, talking about not every third party is at fault, I'm with you guys 100%. Some third parties did completely bull. I mean, that Ghost Recon Online didn't never even came out. That's supposed to be a launch title on Wii U. So, EA couldn't have even made the excuse of install base or anything like that, right? Because that game was announced before the launch of the system, and it was supposed to be a launch title. So stuff like that, obvious stuff. Yes, so a lot of third parties have bullshit. But every single time, like I said, something happens, people are automatically categorize, generalize, judge, throw them over there with all the other, actual trash third-party developers. But like I said, think of it from their point of view, people. Obviously, they don't have that much money, considering the fact that they needed to get that game crowdfunded in the first place. So when you have, and Nintendo talked about this, I actually got done watching his video not too long ago, piggybacking off of it a little bit, but he was saying that they already got the PS4, Xbox One, and PC versions, and the reason why they have already came out, and at the same time, is because the similarity in architecture. That's where the Wii U has a slightly different architecture and also much weaker hardware. So it's going to take more money and resources to get things optimized, running the way that it needs to get ran. Now, again, I understand, yes, they promised that this game was going to come out on Wii U, but they also promised that the game was going to be 720p and 30 frames per second. So why, and here's kind of like the start of what I'm trying to get through to you guys. If they promised 720p 30 frames per second, why would they release a game? If they're actually serious about it, which they are, they seem pretty passionate about it. They talk highly of it all the time. Why would they release it? Why would they release the game in a state that they have stated repeatedly over and over again it's not going to release in? Yes, lots of third-party developers have done that, but it has never been, with those other third-party developers, right, it's never been out of, quality control, or passion, whatever. With those other people, it was just lies. But you could just read the things that Slightly Mad Studios has said, and you know that they are actually, they were actually very passionate and hardworking, on the Wii U version of this game. They used to put out, change lists, like weekly change logs of the things that they are improving with the Wii U version. So, I mean, they updated everything they were doing as they were going along. You see what I mean? That right there to me shows sincerity. And the fact that the dude from Slightly Mad came out and said straight up what the problem was, you see what I mean, also tells me that they are very sincere. Because all these other third-party developers have made all the excuses in the world. Some of them did make sense. Some of them have been legit. Others, not so much. Some of them, obvious bullshit. A lot of them beating around the bush, not just saying the real truth. Slightly Mad has. So, considering how close they've been with the Nintendo community and communicating with us this whole time and giving us changelogs of the freaking Wii U build, how many developers do that? And then straight up telling the exact reason, no sugarcoating, nothing, no damage control, telling us the exact reasons why it might not be coming? With those two things in mind, why would you think that they are actually being malicious towards the Wii U or the Nintendo fanbase? You see what I mean? But you guys don't think about that. Because like I said, out the gate, you see something you don't like, instant emotions. Emotions rush. Like I said, no analyzing, no analytical thinking, no critical thinking, no weighing, no logic. Just anger and passion. That's it. That is it. Going on to a second point, like Nintendo said in his video, let's say this game released in 720p and unlocked 24 frames per second. Would you buy it? Would you actually buy it? Knowing that this whole time they promised 720p 30 frames per second, but they release it 720p unlocked 24, would you buy it? Because right now I see a lot of you guys saying that you're not going to support them anymore in their future endeavors or whatever because this bullshit that they're pulling and stuff like that, because they lied, supposedly. But if they released it in the state that it is right now, wouldn't that technically be a lie as well? Meaning you shouldn't support the game. You shouldn't support that game either if it had came out, because it's not up to snuff. It's not up to the standard that they said it was going to be. You see what I'm saying? So if you're like Nintendo said, if you answer that question, no, I would not buy the game, then you shouldn't be complaining in the first place. If you're saying you would buy the game, okay, you're a little less, hypocritical, but there's still some hypocrisy there because you're still supporting a lie. You see what I'm saying? You're still supporting a promise that was not fulfilled. So either way, a lose-lose situation for you guys. Now this is kind of honestly getting a little off topic, but I just want to throw this side point in here real quick, right? Another point I want to make with this is that I find it funny how with Mario 3D World not having online, Splatoon not having voice chat, right? What's the main defense there's been for these games? It's the developer's vision. It's their decision. Stop bitching. They can do what they want. It's their game. It is their vision. But when that's applied to a third party, all of a sudden, that doesn't matter. That gets thrown out the window. That's no longer legitimate. You see what I'm saying? 24 frames per second is not Slightly Mad Studios' vision, people. Again, I'm not defending them or whatever. I'm just showing you guys how you're tripping over your own words, how you're tripping over your own logics, or rather, really, lack thereof. You're tripping over your own emotions, is what I should say. Because their vision is not 720p, 24 frames per second, and they're saying that they're really, really struggling to get it to 720p, 30 frames per second, and also having a certain standard of graphical fidelity. Their vision. But you guys are angry that they're having trouble reaching their vision due to hardware limitations. That doesn't make any sense. Do you see where I'm getting at? Pure hypocrisy. And this is going to kind of get into like the main point I want to make with this video, right? The logic that me and these other so-called entitled, bitchy, whiner Nintendo fans, whatever you want to call us, right? You guys haven't been necessarily disagreeing. You haven't been disagreeing with our logic. You haven't. You haven't been disagreeing with our thought processes. What you've been disagreeing with is the company we have directed those things toward, right? Because the same logic we've been using towards Nintendo, the same complaint system and reasoning we've been using toward Nintendo, you guys use toward third-party developers. But when somebody takes that same logic, reasoning, and thought processes and applies it to Nintendo, all of a sudden, that side becomes bitchy and whiners and entitled and spoiled, right? But yet, the people complaining about the third-party developers, for some reason, are not. Now I know what you're going to say, but Shokio, people put down money for Project Cars. I backed Project Cars myself, Shokio. So yeah, I am entitled to having that game, whatever. These, and it's not just Project Cars, but yeah, we're entitled from these third-party developers. Let's not just focus all on Project Cars. It's kind of just a broad thing in general. A lot of Nintendo fans, like, why is this port gimped? Why does this port have the DLC? Why doesn't this port have this and this and that? I bought this game. I bought Assassin's Creed 3, so why doesn't Assassin's Creed 4 have this when the other versions do? Stuff like that, right? Right? So listen to what you guys just said, right? You said you gave these third-party developers money. So naturally, you expect returns. Call me a donkey's uncle. But doesn't that mean entitlement? Doesn't that mean you're entitled? You know what? I think it fucking does. You're tripping over yourselves. You're tripping over yourselves. And like I said, that's why I'm glad this situation happened. Because I feel like it took this for me to have that perfect example so I could finally try to explain to you guys what I've been trying to say this whole entire time. All this stuff about entitlement you guys are throwing at us, you're not wrong. We are entitled. The point is that we are rightfully entitled. Because like I just said, you guys expected returns from these third-party developers when you bought these launch titles, right? When you backed these Kickstarters and stuff like that, right? So you expected these games to come out. You expected these ports that are on par with the others, right? But for some reason, when I did this, and when I did this right here, and when I did this right here, and let me crack open my 3DS here, when I do that right there, right? I have a Super Nintendo, I have an N64, I have a Wii, I have a GameCube, I have a Wii U, and I've owned every single handheld Nintendo system. Spent my whole life backing and kickstarting Nintendo. But when I ask for voice chat, I'm a bitch. And it's a problem. Sit the fuck down. You guys have finally been caught. Finally been caught. The argument has finally been killed and done with. Done. Because the same thing you guys have been doing towards third parties this whole time, now you finally realize how we feel towards Nintendo. And we're not asking for anything big. We're not asking for miracles. We're not asking for millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. We're asking for voice chat in games. We're asking for an online mode in a multiplayer focused game like Nintendo Land, 3D World. We're asking for cross game chat, a simple app. A simple app. We're asking for customizable backgrounds. Let me change the color of my Wii U background. Something. We're asking for features that were in the DSi, that were in the Wii. But that's ridiculous and crazy and bullshit. Yet you guys are going down Slightly Mad Studios' throats because they're having technical limitations. Because their vision is currently too ambitious for the hardware. And I'm pointing up here because I have my Wii U up here on the second level of my desk. Boom. Blown the fuck out. I could end the video right here. But I'm not. You guys know me. I talk too much. I like to elaborate and repeat myself a lot. So I'm going to keep going on until you guys get the goddamn point. Do you finally understand where we have been coming from? And what I mean by we is us Nintendo fans who have woken up from the Matrix and seen the truth and have been, ready to criticize Nintendo for the better, to try to get them to better themselves so they could give us our just desserts. Why? Because we have backed them. We gave them money for years. I was there with them in the N64 days when they struggled. I was there with them in the GameCube days when they struggled. I'm here with them right now, god damn it, in the Wii U era. And it's horrible. We get a game every 6 months, right? So I just find it funny how you guys, and like I was saying in that older video I did about the third-party developers, a lot of guys don't realize, they don't ever want to put any fault on Nintendo as to why some of these third-party games, don't come to the Wii U. You see what I mean? Because they don't realize that you gotta have install base to encourage third-party developers to put games on your system. If Nintendo isn't doing much to drive their install base with their advertisement or lack thereof, or their games or lack thereof, which have been two prominent problems plaguing the Wii U this entire time. Of course, there's going to be some third-party developers that are discouraged, right? But nobody ever wants to place any blame on Nintendo. I'm not saying that Nintendo is 100% at fault with all of these instances of third-party games not coming. I'm not saying that, people. You guys know my stances on certain third-party developers and certain third-party games because I've done videos on them, right? Such as, like the Zombie U, Zombie U 2, stuff like that. I was like, Zombie U 1 actually sold pretty well, so this sequel should actually be coming, whatever. But, there's been instances, Kingdom Hearts 3, I'm with you guys. Bullshit that's not coming to the Wii U and it's coming to the Xbox One. It should come to Wii U. Why should it come to Wii U? Because Nintendo fans supported all those bullshit spin-off titles that we've been supporting this whole time that you've been putting out for 10 years before you finally actually got around to fucking Kingdom Hearts 3, right? We bought 10 of those freaking spin-offs on the handhelds and stuff. The Nintendo fan base definitely deserves Kingdom Hearts 3. And definitely not the Xbox fan base. That game is going to tank and flop on the Xbox One. If there ain't a gun on the screen, that audience is not going to buy that game. Plain and simple. That game is going to flop, and I don't care how much weaker the Wii U is than the competition. The amount of money it would take for them to scale that game down and put on Wii U would be a better business decision than them making the Xbox One port of that game. I'm just saying, because they'll actually get returns on the Wii U. They're not going to get returns on the Xbox One. But anyways, I kind of got sidetracked. But you guys get what I'm saying. I'm not saying Nintendo's completely at fault. There's definitely been bullshit. EA, we know EA's been on bullshit. Ubisoft has, but at the same time, let us not forget, because I think a lot of people forget that Ubisoft was actually one of the few third-party developers actually sticking their neck out for Nintendo for a long while no one else was. So yes, Ubisoft has pulled some bullshit, but not going to really go too hard on them because they kind of did try. They tried, people. You got to give them props. They tried when no other major third-party developer would. All right, but you guys are expecting all these returns from third-party developers and all these great things when really most of you don't even buy these third-party games in the first place, right? You don't buy these games, and some of them don't deserve to be bought. Yeah, I agree. Again, I'm not defending the third parties. I'm not justifying the bullshit ports, stuff like that. Stuff like Injustice shouldn't have been supported. I regret buying that game twice. Jesus Christ, I was stupid for that. Splinter Cell Blacklist. The online on the Wii U was utterly broken. You couldn't even get into a lobby with your friends and go find a public match. It was terrible. That shouldn't have been supported. There's been plenty of GIMP retarded ass ports and stuff like that, right? But you guys expect these DLCs, from the COD games and from that Need for Speed game, and you guys didn't even buy the Need for Speed game, right? So here that's the real kicker, right? You bought some of these games, such as the launch titles, such as Assassin's Creed 3 and stuff like that. Those launch third-party games, they sold pretty decently, given the install base at that time. But some of these games you guys didn't support or buy, and you expect DLC for these games and for the future iterations of these games. So, that's the worst kind of entitlement where you're not even supporting the shit and you're expecting stuff. But then you turn to Nintendo fans and you call them bitchy entitled faggots for wanting voice chat, cross-game chat, on-screen notifications, simple shit. 2004 Xbox Live stuff, okay? And we're entitled bitches when we've done all of this shit. And we're asking for simple things in our 2015 next generation Nintendo console. I accidentally turned on my Wii U. How did I do that? I hit the power button on my gamepad. Holy crap. Do you see where I'm getting at? So let me wrap it up because this video has gone on long enough, right? What I want you guys to do, this passion you guys have towards third parties and whatnot, I want you guys to just ignore third parties for now. Just ignore them. Ignore them. I want you to take that passion and that drive, and I want you to direct it to Nintendo. Because before you demand better of these third parties, we gotta demand better of Nintendo. Nintendo is not supporting their own system. Let me repeat that. Nintendo is not supporting their own system, people. So why are you expecting these third parties to? It doesn't make sense. Yes, in certain rare instances, they should, such as Square Enix with Kingdom Hearts 3. That's an example I listed. But I'm just speaking in general. Why are you expecting all these third parties to do right to Nintendo fans when Nintendo is not doing right to Nintendo fans? Don't call that bitchy. Don't call that me being uppity. I'm not happy with anything, all that crap. Look at the droughts. The game releases speak for themselves. the lack of updates to actually add shit speak for themselves. The Wii U pales in comparison to the 3DS. The system speaks for itself. It's not me being overly entitled. It's not me being bitchy. It's not me being any of that, people. Nintendo does not support the Wii U. We've had constant 4-month, 6-month droughts. No game releases from them. No updates. Dry as a bone. It took them a while to even get the virtual console going. They're not doing all these things, but you guys are expecting these dividends from these third parties. And once again, just think of it from their point of view. Going back to Zen Gamer, it's like that was a really good video. Matter of fact, I'm going to link that video in the description. Y'all need to watch that video because it was freaking great. But you guys got to think of it from a third party standpoint. If I make, okay, first off, obviously I'm not balling like that if I have to get a game crowdfunded, right? So with that crowdfunded money I have, I make 3 versions, and then I'm having so much trouble on this 4th one, and getting this 4th one optimized to where I want it will cost me even more money that I don't have. And you know what? I might not even get those returns back like that in the first place. Like, see what I'm saying? You gotta think of it from their point of view. Look at the install base. If somebody puts a game on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC, they're good. Because there's like, over 100 million Steam users, right? Something like that, whatever. There's over 20 million PS4, excuse me, and there's, I think Xbox One's at 12, 13 million, whatever. Add those up, that's a pretty hefty install base. So if I had limited funds and a limited budget, which most third-party developers have, why would I risk that 4th version on the Wii U? And here's another thing. Here's another reason why I say you guys need to take your attention off the third-party developers. You don't think these third parties see what you guys say about them? Whether or not you guys are right, whether or not the name calling and the criticism is warranted, think about it. If I was Ubisoft, and every single time I go online, I see Nintendo fans saying Ubi shit, and all this stuff, and fuck Ubisoft. Even if the next Nintendo system came out, and it did have a good install base, and it was powerful enough, all that stuff, I might just not put my game on that system just out of spite for you motherfuckers. You see what I'm saying? Just out of spite, because you guys have spite toward them. You see what I mean? So that's another reason why I'm not saying that just because I want you guys to get on Nintendo. I definitely want y'all to do that. You got to get the manufacturer of the console supporting it before you expect the third parties to. But more importantly, these third parties are definitely seeing what you guys say about them. And again, whether or not it's true doesn't matter. You guys gotta understand that you guys are really antagonizing the Nintendo fan base. I'm not saying you can't speak out against these third party developers. I have. But I don't do it in the manner that you guys do. All this, name calling and disrespect, and they could go to hell and stuff like that. Some of them ain't going to be back around, regardless of how powerful the next Nintendo system might be, regardless of the install base. Some of them might not come around because they just don't like you guys anymore. They don't, because they've seen what you guys have been saying about this whole time. Y'all gotta think. Y'all gotta think about these things. Y'all gotta think. I feel, not necessarily with EA or Ubisoft, I'm not saying those big third parties, whatever, but these third party developers that y'all have gone on that were actually innocent, such as Slightly Mad. I think if you guys were, if the Nintendo fan base collectively came out and told them, hey guys, this really sucks. We're looking forward to this, but we understand. The technical limitations means that you're going to need more money, that you don't have to get the game running the way you want it, and you don't want to release a game running in 18 frames per second. We understand that. So we can't really bang you up too much over that. If I was Slightly Mad, I would feel so much respect and so much regard, for my vision. You guys love to use the vision defense so much, but for some reason, you guys denied third-party developers the vision defense. I don't know why. But I would be like, dang, you know what? I really thought they'd be mad, but they came out so nice. You know what? I'm going to do everything in my power to get this game on the system, or I'm going to make sure the next games we work on, get on these systems so I could like give back to these cool ass Nintendo dudes, right? That's how I would feel. Just think about that, people. But I dragged this video on long enough. This video is probably like 25 minutes or some shit like that, so I'm about to end it. But that's this video, y'all. Thanks for watching. Truly think about what I said. I'll see you guys later.